A CV is your life story, everything you've worked for and are proud of on 1 or 2 sheets of paper. It speaks for you in a job application, so you need to make sure that your CV is as good as it can possibly be, and in this video we're going to show you how. At Revolved CV, we are committed to providing you with a professional and personalized CV writing service that includes cover letters and LinkedIn profile optimization. If you need more help following this video, our dedicated writers will be happy to provide you with a free CV consultation. In this video, we will discuss some of the major do's and don'ts of CV writing, as well as going into detail about each section of a standard CV. It's important to note before we start that some professions require a more advanced or varied resume. If you think that this applies to you and your career, get in touch with one of our CV writers and we'll be happy to go through the differences with you. First things first, there are a few things you'll need to know and have prepared before you start writing your CV. You may or may not be aware that in larger businesses where each job advert brings in hundreds or even thousands of applications, an automated system called an ATS, Applicant Tracking System, is commonly used to sort, review and respond to CVs in place of human contribution. It sounds scary, but as long as you make sure that you are making the necessary amendments to your CV to rank highly in the ATS's criteria, you'll increase your chances of success. How, you may ask? Well, it revolves around using keywords that are dependent on the job you're applying for, as well as making sure you have the correct CV structure, spelling and grammar, all things we will look at in this video. If you have gaps in your CV, it can look pretty bad to the person reading it. But obviously there are many reasons people may have a gap in their work, so the most important thing to do is to explain the gaps in your CV. Otherwise, you need to make sure that you know the start and end dates, usually just the month and year, for every job you've had. That being said, if you've had a large number of jobs over the years, it may be best to just put the 3 to 5 most recent or most relevant roles. For example, there may be no reason to list your paper round from 1985 when you're applying to be a biochemist in 2022. The further you go on your career journey, the less important your secondary school grades will become. But for many, their education is what may land them their dream job. Whether that's through GCSEs, A-levels or a university degree, you need to make sure that you have your certificates to hand to accurately list your grades. As mentioned, however, you can start to phase some of the older or less important grades out as you progress through your career journey. Not many people enjoy bigging themselves up, but sometimes it's necessary to get your best qualities across to the employer. After all, you are competing against many people, some perhaps more appropriate for the job than yourself. So you need to go back in time and think about all the achievements, praise and success you've had in your past jobs and education and list them where appropriate. There are hundreds of CV templates out there with various flashy colours and images. However, depending on the context of the job and due to the imposing threat of applicant tracking systems, we recommend toning down the artistic flair in place of optimizing the actual content of your CV. You also want to make sure that you use a plain, easy-to-read font, typically with a font size of 11 to 12, with the headings and titles being an exception. There are many misconceptions about CV content that we will cover in each section, but one of the big design aspects to avoid is using a photo of yourself in the CV. Companies follow strict anti-discrimination laws and are required to hire indiscriminately, so get that selfie out of here. There are many different structure styles for a CV, but for the most part they can be broken down into 6 main sections. Personal details, personal statement, work experience, education, skills, and hobbies and interests. Some of these sections tend to intertwine with others, specifically skills and experience. Some CVs will have these laced into their experience and education, but regardless, these are the 6 main topics every CV must address. Your personal information should always go at the top of the page. It's the first thing the employer will see and serves as your introduction. You should always include your name, and if you want to, you can also add a professional title to accent your career goals and set the tone for the CV. Also in this section, you'll want to include your phone number and email so that the employer can contact you after making their decision, as well as your LinkedIn profile, online portfolio, or other relevant links where applicable. Under no circumstances should you be putting your date of birth, full address, or as mentioned earlier, a photo of yourself in your personal details section. These may create grounds for bias against you, and your CV should be about your skills and experience rather than your demographics. These are the 6 main topics every CV must address. Your personal statement is your best friend when it comes to CV writing. Statistically speaking, an employer may spend 5 to 10 seconds reading your CV, so this is the section to make that time count. This statement is a summary of your career skills, goals and achievements, and what makes you desirable to the company. In your personal statement, you can use industry-specific keywords that will rate your CV highly with applicant tracking systems. Listed in reverse chronological order, as in your most recent employment first, this section describes the companies you've worked at, the role you played, and the time frame of said employment. This section is a fantastic chance to show off the tasks you undertook at your various jobs, and ultimately how you contributed to the success of the company. If you do not have much or any work experience, which is not unlikely if you're a student or graduate, you can list any volunteering work or work placement through education. If you believe that your education provides more value to your CV than your work experience, then this section can come after your education. Otherwise, experience should always go first and is generally speaking more valuable to an employer. The content of your education section will depend on what stage you are at in your career journey. For more experienced professionals, your education section will really only need to state your most relevant and important qualifications. However, for a student or graduate, you will most likely be looking to prove yourself through all of your qualifications to make up for what you lack in work experience. Regardless, your education section does not have to be nearly as fleshed out as your experience section. You can simply state the qualifications achieved and the year and establishment in which you received them. In your skills section, you can bullet point your core skills that will show the employer that you tick all of their boxes for the job that you're applying for. You want to keep these skills short and to the point so that they are easily readable and understandable. Obviously, these skills will be dependent on the job you're applying for, and as such there isn't really a default list of skills that you can copy from CV to CV. In order to compile your list of skills, study the job description to make sure you're always including all of the job-specific skills that they are looking for. IT skills which are always useful in the modern times, and also skills that will make you stand out and make you a good cultural fit in the company, such as languages. The hobbies and interests section of your CV is an underrated one that a lot of people choose to leave out, but it can actually provide a lot more value than you may think, as long as you follow a simple mindset. What does this hobby or interest say about me? If you're applying for a team-based role, and you write that your hobbies only include solo activities, this could be detrimental to your application. However, if you include hobbies and interests that support the requirements for the job, such as playing team sports, it will make you look more interesting and make you a good cultural fit for the company as well. To learn more about the kinds of hobbies and interests that may benefit or harm your CV, check out our blog. Hopefully you've learned a thing or two that will help you create a winning CV for your career journey. If you found this video useful, we would really appreciate it if you would leave a like and a comment, and feel free to ask questions below. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe to our channel where we post regular content. And if you want to learn more about CV writing, careers and more, go to www.revolvedcv.com.